I just want to say, yo, Adrian, I'm making a review. It's just a little special effects. Hello, welcome to Lopez Tower Lopez review of Rocky. Now, I know that reference was from Rocky 2, but I didn't watch Rocky 2. I just watched Rocky 1976. And you're probably wondering, what about all my other Star Wars stuff I was going to do? I'll do that's coming in the future. But I just watched Rocky, and I felt like talking about Rocky. Um, Rocky is an interesting movie because, don't quote me on this, I don't know, but I think this was the first sports movie to win Best Picture. And, at least the first boxing movie. Well, on the waterfront, but not really in a boxing movie, but it's about a boxer. But this is the first boxing movie, and that won Best Picture. And it came out in 1976, and it was kind of a sleeper hit. Like, when it first came out, it was okay, but as time went on, it got more popular and became a huge success. It stars Sylvester Stallone, is written by Sylvester Stallone, and is directed by John G. Avildsen, who is also famous for The Karate Kid. Um, what's so great about this Rocky movie, and that I'm not I'm not really talking about movies in general, but in the Rocky franchise, is it's the most, with maybe the exception of Rocky 6, it's the most, Rocky Balboa. It's the most, emotional, I think. It's the most simple, but it's got a strong heart. The movie itself is kind of like Rocky. Like, it's not special, it's not that cinematic, but it's got a lot of character and a lot of heart, and it's just so likable. The movie is like Rocky, and that's how you also describe the character of Rocky. That's also how I kind of describe the movies. It's got simple, not too like advanced, smart wise. I'm not saying like it's a movie for dumb people, but anybody can pick up on it and get it. It's a simple paced and story structured movie, but it's got a lot of heart and it's got a lot of emotion to it, and it's very likable. Um, this movie some might not like because it's cliched, but there's something you gotta understand when watching Rocky. It's the first movie to start those cliches that you'd see in a lot of sports movies from Rocky. Um, the underdog that comes up and wins it all, and also the romance on the side. Well, I know he doesn't win, but he's still standing, and he by heart he won. Um, and the trainer that agrees to help train him, the romance story, the training montage, and the win. Even John G. Avildsen's later movies, such as Karate Kid, kind of followed that pattern. And now, when you watch this movie, you'd be like, "Oh, I could, predict this movie in my sleep." Oh, it's very cliched. But the thing is, it's the movie that started it. Before Rocky, this story wasn't really that common. It was, but after Rocky was such a success, everybody wanted to be Rocky. It's kind of like with sci-fi, how everyone wanted to be Star Wars. Um, Afterwards, but it's a movie with, it's one of my favorite movies. Okay, so I like how the very character driven movie, every one of these characters, you understand where they're coming from, you relate to them, you get them, and it makes us connect more with the character. And I think the thing is, they're not overly advanced people. And I think that's why a lot of people fall in love with these characters. It's like Bugs Bunny or something. I know I'm comparing Rocky to like cartoons, but very simplistic, but very written, very likable, and very written also very understandable and relatable. And you really believe that. I mean, if this kind of happened today, it would be kind of a joke. And the movie does kind of portray it like, oh, Apollo Creed just fighting some dude off of the streets. But the way the movie is, you take it seriously. The way the movie is written, because it's written in such a grounded, real world way that you you get it. You take it seriously. And you really do think he's gonna win. You really do believe that. And I know he doesn't win. You feel that he wins, and it's so satisfying because you feel that he wins by heart. Because he keeps pushing. He's standing at the end. And Rocky, I forgot to kind of say this in my Star Wars review of Luke Skywalker, but with Rocky and Luke Skywalker, and I'll keep it more on Rocky because this is the Rocky review, is those two characters are the perfect example of a protagonist. Somebody who comes from humble beginnings, who gets the girl at the end who we relate to, who wins the day at the end, and we root for, is likable, we want to stand up and clap for this person at the end. And we relate to this person, and we get this person. We know where he's coming from. We're glad to take this journey along with him. Nobody does this better than in my opinion, the three best protagonists in movie history are Luke Skywalker, Rocky Balboa, and Marty McFly. Those three characters all have that in common, what I just mentioned. We're glad to go on this journey with them. They come from humble beginnings, and because they come from humble beginnings, we kind of get that ourselves, because some of us are just ordinary people becoming amazing, going on an amazing journey. Getting the girl at the end is icing on the cake, and also understanding where this person is coming from, and we can cheer for them at the end. And both of those characters have that. Luke Skywalker, Rocky, and Marty McFly. My opinion, the three best movie protagonists of all time. And what a protagonist, if you're a newer person to word of movies, like words we use, the protagonist means that the person the story revolves around. It's the person we take the journey with. It's the main character of the story. And nobody does that, I think, better than those three I just mentioned. When somebody asks, if anybody asks me, or either that or I tell them, what is the perfect example of a main character protagonist? And I list those because of that. And I think especially Rocky, because the other two are science fiction. Not everybody gets into science fiction. And I know Star Wars is science fantasy. But with Rocky, it's more of a real world grounded thing. Real world, like, you see the dirty streets of Philadelphia. And it's a more relatable, humble beginning because it's very similar to a lot of us as humble beginnings because it has such a real world look to it. And I'm not saying everybody comes from the ghetto like Rocky, and only people who come from the ghetto relate to it. But just because we're in the real world, we get that grounded real world reality that really we understand. And we really appreciate when our character becomes amazing because he comes from that such ordinary grounded perspective world. Definitely in my top 10 favorite movies, just because the character Rocky has got a lot of heart. It's also how you describe the movie. Also, very simple, got a lot of heart, got a lot of emotion, but is very likable, understandable. That's how I describe both the character Rocky and the movie. And especially with Rocky, I always kind of felt, is not just a sports movie. I think it's more of a love story. It really is. Um, and it's not. It's a love story based on simplicity and likability, with genuine emotion. It's not that all physical that we see in movies today. It's more about understanding personality. These two have very different personalities, Adrian and Rocky. One's very shy, but one's kind of loud, but is kind of a dumb log, but is a likable dumb log. Um, and these and what I like about the first Rocky especially is they don't portray him too dumb. Like you get that he's not like a college graduate, but you don't feel that he's retarded. Like they, especially in like Rocky 2 and 3, they portray him as like stupid. And with the first one, he's just like a normal dude. You could tell, yeah, and he's not that sharp, but you don't feel that he's kind of too slow. He's just kind of like an average high school graduate type of thing. That's what you kind of feel of Rocky, who's got more. Again, you feel that he's got more street knowledge. He's got like a degree in street knowledge. That's what you kind of feel, because he's a person that knows how the streets work. Especially when he's talking to little Marie, that whole one shot dialogue is very very true to Rocky's world and that type of world. Um, and he's smart, but he's smart in a different way, I guess I should say. He's not smart in like books or math. He's smart in a real life streets, mean streets type of way. Um, and again, I just I can't praise this character enough because it's just so well written and so well grounded. If you haven't seen Rocky, go see it. It's one of the best movies of all time. Definitely in my top 15, if not top 10 favorite movies. Um, and I think that, especially with Creed coming out in 2 weeks, I thought it was appropriate to talk about Rocky. Now, I don't think I'll talk about the other movies. Maybe I will. Uh, this month anyway. Maybe I don't know. Maybe in the future I will review them. Most likely. I'll go over them a little bit real quick right now. With the second one, I thought was pretty good. I thought the when Rocky started taking it seriously, it got the heart of the first movie back. But like in the beginning, where they're like spending money and he's doing commercials, it's not that interesting. But when Adrian goes into a coma and he's take after that takes it more seriously with the birth of his son. That's when the movie becomes almost as good as the first movie. That especially with the first half, for last half. So I really like the second one. The third one I thought is really good. It gets a little dumber, but the thing is, you gotta understand, is it came out in the '80s, and I'm not saying that '80s movies are dumber, but I think during that time, Stallone wanted to compete with Schwarzenegger by having more goofier movies. And but other than like the Thunderlip scene, it's still got a lot of heart, similar to the first movie. It's a different villain, It's not Apollo Creed, and so on and so forth. It's got Mickey dies, but it's got a lot of heart to it still. And I love the training montages with Apollo Creed, because Apollo Creed comes around and trains Rocky. The fourth one, I really think is my guilty pleasure. It's just full of '80s cheese, full of those montages that we all know. The whole movie is almost montages. It's got a great villain. I would actually say it's probably the most memorable of the series because of how far out it is. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. With the Move the camera a little bit. With the fifth one, I actually really like the fifth one. It's actually one of those, lists that I have. There's a list that kind of Nostalgia Critic made, and it's kind of grown on the internet of movies that you like but everyone else doesn't like. And I would say Rocky 5 is definitely on my list. I love Rocky 5. I actually think it's the second best of the sequels until Rocky 6, which I'll get later, because I think it's the one that, takes him. Of course, it's in like a weird, convoluted way how he loses all his riches and goes back to rags. He goes back to living in the hood of Philadelphia, but it's got a lot of heart like the first movie. It's got a lot of simplicity. And it's very understandable, I think, especially because the bad guy in this movie, in the fifth one, is Rocky's protege, Tommy Gunn. And I thought it was kind of cool seeing, Rocky kind of have to face training somebody, but also going to have to face him because he's kind of been corrupted by fame and all that. So I like Rocky 5. I think it's the one that takes itself the most seriously of the sequels until Rocky 6. Um, so, and Stallone doesn't like it, but I think he's just trying to fit in with the crowd. Rocky 6, though, I think is the true sequel to Rocky 1. You could literally watch Rocky 1, skip 2, 3, 4, and 5, and go to Rocky 6 and be completely satisfied and not seeing those movies because it really is the true sequel. It's the true underdog story coming back and having that win by heart thing. Even though again he loses in that one, he still wins by heart, and I think it's one of the greatest comebacks in movie history. Um, Very well written, very well grounded like the first one. And it's got a lot of heart and simplicity and likability like the first one. So I think Rocky Balboa is the true Rocky sequel. So I might give a more fleshed out review of those other movies, but with Rocky 1, I give the movie 10 out of 10, 4 out of 4, an A+, one of my top favorite movies, top 15, top 10. It's the all-time sports movie. It's the all-time, you know, probably my favorite love story. It's the all-time underdog story. It's just a great movie. Um, Everyone in the movie is great. Especially Mickey. I mean Rocky's the best one, but out of the other ones besides Adrian, Mickey, he's kind of like the if Mr. Miyagi had a little more spicy old edge to him, but he's so great. And it's the character Polly I really like in this movie because he starts out kind of abusive, but he comes around and really supports Rocky. He kind of gets a good character arc in the movie. Um, in the other movies, he's kind of portrayed as comic relief, but within the first one, he's actually kind of like he's kind of a abusive, mean character. But towards the end, he turns around to help Rocky, to help his friend, and even Polly becomes very likable at the end. Very good movie. Like I said, 10 out of 10, 4 out of 4, A+. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. Shout out to my viewer, Benjamin Snyder. Thank you. Thank you for watching. And anybody new, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment below. And, take care. See you next review, and God bless.